We're here, jump off, and we're about to debate. So we've got SuperMalcom, we've got Kashmir, Kymberlee Jay, Jonzi D, myself, Hakeem, Twist and Pulse, and we've also got Tony Adigun, and finally on the end we've got Mr. Omar Paloma. Is there a lack of professionalism in the dance community?
Yes. And I think you have to ask the first question, what is considered professionalism? Exactly. And to me, coming from America, one of the things that always surprised me when I first came to the UK was the lack of focus on training of a lot of the dancers. And I'm not just talking about street dancers, I'm talking about dancers in general. When I was training as a dancer, 25 hours a week, that's what was expected. There was no chance that you were going to get any work if you weren't training at least that many hours. And when I came here, people would show up at Pineapple, you know, they'd do their 1 hour class and they would consider that they were training. And I'm like, seriously? Are you kidding? I remember going to see Cats before it closed down, and I was really surprised that none of these people looked like dancers. They weren't fit, they weren't strong, they weren't ready. And I see that trend has not really gone away over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, so you're taking it from that perspective, from what you've seen. I'm going to go over to here, two dancers.
I actually agree with what you're saying in terms of my background, which is street dancing. There's a lot of people that are not actually trained properly in certain styles, and they come to go and teach. They don't actually know what they're talking about. They don't actually know the foundation. They don't know the basic. They don't know the history. Street dancing itself is not like ballets. It's not like a curriculum or school that you can go to learn it. The people in the UK, they don't actually go and do the research as much, and they don't really dig in to find out, okay, what is real and what's not real.
You said there's not a curriculum, so surely that runs in parallel why it's not taken professionally. I don't know. You need a curriculum before people accept it as professionalism. Does anyone know?
I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of contexts in which street dance has been trained with crews, not within an institutional context whatsoever, and they've excelled at very high levels. Like when I went to Korea, they would hire out a studio, they would reach there at 11 p.m. and they will train until 3 o'clock in the morning, go get a couple hours of sleep, then go to work or college or wherever they're going. Then go back, get home, eat food, and then do the same thing. There's a thing that I experience in England, which is a little bit lazy, to be honest with you. And whenever I travel, places like France in particular, they just take it serious.
So why do you think there's this laziness here?
Culture. The mentality of English culture that everything's meant to be fed to you on a plate, rather than going out to look for it yourself. If I put it in the context of the English language, a lot of people feel they don't need to learn a different language because English is a universal language. I think that kind of mentality itself is within the dancers, thinking that, you know, because we're here, we have this, we have that, we can do pretty much what we like. I mean, talking on the curriculum thing, I think from my research, there is a lot of curriculum within all the street styles. It's just that no one's put it into a specific context and made it into a school. Everything can't be taught the exact same way. And I can teach you the running man, but it'll be different to how someone else does it, because this is the nature of the dance. It's so free. It can be taught to a specific context, but then it also has to have its freedom at the same time. So,
are people getting into street dance for the wrong reasons or the right reasons? Why are people getting involved in street dance?
The tumble effect of the hype of it becoming so quick, like you can be in school and there'll be 10 different crews for you to join. Like I remember, obviously there was only certain people you could go to train and to get into certain styles and certain companies you could be a part of, but now everyone's making their own crew and everyone's making their own company. That in school you don't have to take the class, you could just join the crew straight away and you're already training with people that have just put that crew together because of the hype of it, and then they become to learn that's what they feel is correct because they're in that environment with 10 other street dancers and they build themselves up on that vibe of that's what it is, rather than stepping back and then finding out where a street dance crew that's actually been established for a while and bringing themselves into that, and then being able to say, okay, I've taken this amount of knowledge from this that I can go away and maybe teach a friend, teach another friend, whatever, and then build something upon that. But now they're all starting together at this level and building a crew and starting with zero amounts of knowledge, and then they're all split in to make 10 new crews, etc., etc.
I think exactly what you're saying. I think a lot of people are taking shortcuts, especially with all this like dance on TV. People think you can have it overnight. They want to do it overnight and they want to be like the people that they see on TV. A lot of us have been training, been dancing for a long time, and I think a lot of dancers think that because they dance, they can be a choreographer, and because they're a choreographer, they can be a teacher. And I always kind of like pursue the notion that those are totally three different things. There's a mentality that, okay, because I'm a dancer, I can do the other two, and it just doesn't work out like that. It's about being professional and about knowing what your skill is and what your craft is.
None of us fundamentally have anything against people who want to latch on to the street dance community. I think our biggest concern is how can we keep what we love as authentic as possible while still encouraging innovation and creativity.
I think it's really important that we go out and we educate the young people or the people coming through that there's going to be certain things that's going to sustain our industry, and there's certain things that's not going to sustain our industry. It's actually going to break the industry down. Do you feel you set the example for your people as a professional? Okay, but what is professional?
You can't have professionalism until we set a standard. So sometimes it's not even about creating a curriculum. What we need is a standard for people to, because I know that in classical and contemporary styles, you're not allowed to call yourself a choreographer until you've been an assistant choreographer and you've worked so many years and built up, your reputation. You can't just go to your garage.
I want you to continue, but can I just jump in there? You said build a standard.
Set a standard, yeah.
I could be professional. I could not be a very good teacher, but I could be professional where I conduct myself.
Yeah, but this is what I mean by a standard. This is what I mean by saying, okay, there's a specific skill set you need to have as a dancer, and potentially within your sort of organisational skills, etc., that says that right now you can then pass on this knowledge. You won't necessarily be qualified as a maths teacher until you've taken a degree, probably potentially done a master's, done a PGCE, then you're allowed to call yourself a teacher and teach in a school. But within dance, obviously, especially street dance, unfortunately, anybody can do it.
So we have this whole culture growing up that it's all being created on the spot, that we are all individual creators. So I agree with you that there has to be a standard. I agree with you that there are people out there who are teaching who we could argue aren't qualified. But you also have to go back to that root. What is the qualification to be a street dancer? Where does it actually start? Where do you actually draw the line between now we're doing street dance and now we're doing something that's slightly more modified and more commercialized?
What does everyone in this room perceive as professionalism?
I think is about life skills. I think the same professionalism as you would use in your life, I think it should be applied to dance as well. So I don't necessarily think it's about the teaching standard or those elements. I think it's about human beings and how you interact with each other and how you need to be on time. Respect is a big thing for me.
The teaching standard has something to do with that in terms of teaching students how to have that level of respect, how to be on time. Within the other cultures, within ballet, within contemporary dance, they don't stand for that. You can't turn up to class late and just walk in at the back.
But I think even if you acquire all those skills, if you as a person are not professional in your life, then you might have the skill base.
Yeah,
but I think essentially it's about you and like how you conduct yourself as a person.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've acknowledged and it upsets me is the professionalism and the standard issue that's going on here. 10 years ago, I remember acknowledging it as a problem and wanting to do breaking convention to help that. But the fact that we're still talking about it now is a little bit disappointing.
What I'm picking up from this is two different things. Is it about conduct or is it about standard? Maybe an individual could turn up, have amazing people skills, be on time, motivate their team, but their choreography might be whack. Does that mean they're not professional?
No, I think it means they're totally professional, but I just think it means that they're a bit whack at what they do.
Right, okay. Yeah, what is important here then when we talk about professionalism, because you could have 500 people really professional, but they're whack. So the industry is not actually moving forward, right? But then you could have some people just amazing what they do, and we know there are people amazing what they do, but you don't know if they're going to turn up.
I think we should find a balance. With anything, it's just about finding the balance. It's a bit of both. For me, it's probably more about you as a person at the instigation of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the base of it, I think, is it's about you as a person. I think there's a lot of things that happen these days that, like back in the day, would never happen.
From which point of view? What?
As a dancer,
things have got better or things have got worse?
I think worse in terms of attitude.
Yeah.
Worse in terms of attitude, and I think that's because there's just so much choice.
Yeah.
There's so many groups, like what you said. There's so many choreographers, dancers, teachers. There's just so much choice for everyone. Yeah. I mean, nowadays people are dancing many, many different groups. Back in the day, you were dedicated to one scenario, and that was you.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no talk about, okay, you dancing for another group, and do you know what I mean? But us as choreographers that have come from back in the day, we've had to kind of like slowly align ourselves, or you know what I mean, let that what we're used to go.
Quick vote. Who feels there is a lack of professionalism? Okay, let's end on a positive. How do you feel we can change that?
I mean, role models definitely, what Kymberlee said is definitely a part of it. And I think we also have to recognize that there's an entire ecosystem that goes along with it. Professionalism in terms of personal conduct, in terms of training, in terms of what the industry demands of people. Right now, you know, without a strong union, not that unions are the be-all and end-all, but it's a bit of a free-for-all. You know, and it's a scramble to get to the top, regardless of what it is that you're doing.
Just going back on what Tony was saying, for me, a professional dancer needs to have the standard first. Because would you call a dancer that actually teaches, turns up on time, that actually got the right conduct, what he's teaching is completely whack, would you call that a professional dancer?
No, you just have a person who's on time.
That's what I'm saying. But if that same person has the right knowledge, has done the research, has that professionalism behind it to reach that high standard, then he's a more professional person that, like you're saying, has the right conduct. Because it's going back on what you were saying, the standard for me is more important than anything. So if you have the right mentality in your head of thinking, you know what, I'm going to study that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all the right thing to reach that level, then I think that everything's going to change.
Yeah. I personally want to be taught by the best, but if I don't feel that person's going to be on time, or they're going to talk to me in the right way, or most of their girlfriend calls and they're taking a call, no matter how good that person is, can I actually say that that's a professional environment that I can work in? I don't know, Jonzi, what thoughts?
I think that's disgusting. For me, it don't matter how good you are a dancer, no matter how dope you are, if you come at me with that weird attitude in the studio, we ain't gonna make good work. Do you know what I mean? It's the basic fundamental thing. I need love in my studio. So I think that it's balance.
Balance. Yeah.
Balance,
yeah.
This first debate, I think there's definitely feelings of conduct and standard. Whether one is higher than the other, that's a little bit debatable at this very moment in time. But I think, you know, we definitely feel that there's a lack of professionalism. We haven't really touched that much on how we're going to change it other than really role models. We didn't go that deep, but I think we're kind of like of the same understanding that definitely professionalism needs to improve in our industry.